Ay, ba't? Tapos umiilaw.
I've been co-moderator of this forum. We have a full lineup for today. We have the OIC of the Department of Social Welfare and Development. Do tell us yung current programs nila along federal tracks, ano? Yung Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino Program, yung 40.
Ano si Punay?
Tapos yung cash assistance sa mga disadvantaged sectors. Tapos meron pang
Medyo kami.
tapos medyo long-standing mandate nila is to assist what the department is doing to about the scarcity of impending rise in egg prices. Saka yung mga ginagawa ng Department of Agriculture to ensure food security.
Nandiyan yung bago.
Other matters. We also have Economist Ramon Orosa, who will give us insights on the World Economic Forum. Alam naman natin the President is scheduled to leave for Davos, Switzerland tomorrow until for a 5-day meeting ng mga prominent economists, financial experts on the direction of the world, the global economy. With us, Mr. Orosa, his views on reports that President Marcos will also discuss sa Maharlika Investment Fund dito sa World Economic Forum sa Davos. Anyway, we'll start with OIC Edu Punay to give us an opening statement on the current status of the DSWD.
Good morning, Sir Coach, and all our friends in the media, our former colleagues, our medias. So, during the last cabinet meeting earlier this week, we were able to present the accomplishment report of the DSWD to the President and the Cabinet. So, full year report natin, ating po ibinahagi sa Pangulo. Kasama po dyan specifically yung ating major program sa DSWD na part ng ating flagship programs that are aligned with the 8-point agenda of the administration. Specifically, yung ating objective for reducing vulnerability and mitigating the scarring from the COVID-19 pandemic. So, ang nireport po natin doon, kasama din yung ating accomplishments for the 40s, yung Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino Program, which is the flagship National Poverty Alleviation Program ng administration and ng government. Kasama rin din yung ating social pension program, and the AICS, yung Assistance to Individual in Crisis Situations program, as well as yung ating disaster response programs, especially which is relevant today with what's going on in the Visayas and Mindanao na continuous ating situation doon. Maraming kababayan po tayong mga kailangan ng tulong mula pa nitong Kapaskuhan. So, Bush talaga tuloy-tuloy, balik-balik ang pagbaha doon. We've been monitoring, we've been going there. The President went there personally to see the situation, oversee the situation, and address the needs of the communities. So maybe let's begin with the 40s, Sir Butch, no? Yung 40s program po, ito po yung flagship program natin. Alam naman natin lahat na ito yung poverty alleviation. Ito yung mekanismo ng gobyerno para tulungan kung mga sa kahirapan at mga kababayang nasa baba ng economic strata natin. Ang intention nito ay ayun focus on education. Ibibigay tayo sa mga pamilya na may mga estudyante, mga anak na estudyante below 17 years old para pagtulong sa pagtustos ng pag-aaral ng mga bata. Ito yung main objective talaga nitong programa. At ang target po natin dito annually ay 4.4 million households. Yun ang ating target dito annually. At last year po, 2022, nakapagsilbi po tayo ng 4,323,450 na households. Ito po ay 98.3% ng ating target. At sila po ay nabigyan ng assistance or total worth na 99.28 billion pesos po. So almost 100 billion ng pondo ng gobyerno na punta dito sa 40s program po natin. During the last year, talagang when the administration assumed office, the objective is to cleanse the list and update yung beneficiaries natin kasi marami po doon, Sir Coach, ay matatagal na sa programa. So marami po tayong naka-waitlist dito sa 40s natin na kailangan natin pag-graduate para mapalitan, maka-accommodate tayo ng bagong beneficiaries kasi napakarami po. Hindi po kasya yung 4.4 billion na slot to accommodate everybody na kailangan ng tulong. And so last year we were able to graduate 106,000 beneficiaries. But originally, meron pong 1.3 million sana tayong papagraduate based on our listahan ng 3 ng ating National House Targeting Office. Unfortunately po, outdated po yung listahan na yun, yung 1.3 million. This was made in 2019. And that did not take into consideration yung effects ng pandemic. Diba? Alam naman natin yung impact ng pandemic na marami naghirap tayong kababayan. So, may mga middle income or na tayong earners na bumaba pa sa poverty line. So we expect yung mga nasa poverty line natin to stay there. That's why when we had the validation last year, out of the 1.3 million supposed to be graduates from the 40s, ang na-determine namin, meron pang 500,000 na kailangan mag-stay sa 40s program, they remain in the poverty level. So, yun yung inaayos po namin ngayon. Nagkakanda kami ng community validation dito sa mga beneficiaries na ito sa 40s program, and they expect to further cleanse the 40s list, ang listahan natin, at magpapa-graduate tayo ng 500,000 this year para po may mapalit tayo na more than 600,000 na beneficiaries. May ma-accommodate tayo na bagong beneficiaries na 40s mula sa ating waitlist, Sir Butch. Talagang napakalaking challenge po ito sa DSWD dahil ang very crucial yung identification at enumeration natin ng households kung sino talaga yung poverty, yung qualified sa 40s program dahil napakarami nga pong waitlist. We are being bombarded with so many grievances ng mga gustong mapabilang sa 40s program, and tayo naman po nagsiset ng target. So by end of this month, hopefully maayos na po natin yung listahan, makompleto na natin yung ating 500,000 Sir Butch na additional papalitan natin sa 40s. And then, we also have yung another major program ng DSWD po, ng flagship programs namin, is yung AICS natin, Assistance to Individuals in Crisis Situation. Ito yung nakikita nyo pumipila araw-araw sa DSWD, pati sa aming mga regional offices. No? This is one of the, we can say, more successful programs ng DSWD under the current administration because we were able to streamline the process when Sec. Erwin and the administration of President Bongbong came in. We remove a lot of redundant requirements. So from, it used to be like 5 to 7 documentary requirements before beneficiaries will be able to access our grants. Ngayon po, 2 to 3 requirements na lang ang ating nire-require sa ating mga beneficiaries. Kaya dumami po talaga yung beneficiary natin dito. Actually, Sir Butch, nag-overshoot kami dito sa budget dito. Ang target namin dito, 1.2 billion beneficiaries lang. 1.2 million rather, sorry, na beneficiaries lang last year. But fortunately or unfortunately, umabot po ng 4.4 million yung naging beneficiaries namin doon. Nag-overshoot yung aming pondo doon ng 362%. Lampas po yung kaya naghingi po kami ng mga supplemental budget po doon. Kasama dito, Sir Butch, yung educational assistance. That's the component of the IH program. And so we were able to spend 34.22 billion for the IH program in 2022. So, yun talaga, malaking factor yung streamlining natin ng delivery process natin. Kaya mas marami tayong reach na beneficiaries, mas marami tayong natulungan under the administration of President of PBBM. And then, nandiyan din po, of course, yung mga other major programs natin, yung social pension for indigent senior citizens. Meron tayong serve doon ng 3.75 million senior citizens nationwide. We were able to utilize 24.65 billion sa SOCPED project natin. At one successful venture ng DSWD in this project is yung we were able to lobby before the Congress yung increase ng social pension grant natin, sir, which it used to be 500, pero yun na, bago tayong batas, increasing it to 1,000 per month. So, na-double yung ating mga social pension benefits. Also, we have the supplemental feeding program. Meron tayong benefit na almost 2 million children dito sa social supplemental feeding program natin where we spent 4 billion last year. And then, of course, meron tayong sustainable livelihood program. Ito yung running program natin designed actually to accommodate yung graduates ng 4Ps program natin. Dito natin sila i-exit program sa SLP para po masustain yung kanilang livelihood requirements at hindi na sila bumalik sa poverty threshold. Okay, so yung mga graduate natin sa 40s, bibigyan natin sila ng puhunan. Yan po yung sistema ng 15,000 para po yung tinitrain po natin sila kung paano maging entrepreneur, paano magsimula ng sustainable livelihood. So last year, we were able to help 184,360 households and utilize 4.64 billion in funding for the SLP program. So ilan lang yun, sir, sa mga ating mga naging accomplishments. Andun din, of course, very active ang ating disaster response. Isa ito sa mga pinaka well appreciated sa ating mga kababayan, di ba? In fact, one of the five most approved programs ng BBM administration, itong disaster response natin. Kasi very proactive tayo dito. Ang policy na i-implement natin is repositioning ng mga relief items sa strategic locations in various localities nationwide para hindi na tayo magta-transport pa ng malalayong lugar sa ating mga relief items na food and non-food, unlike what's being practiced before. So ngayon talagang very swift, very fast yung ating disaster response. Within 24 hours from the time of the calamity hit a locality, we're able to deliver yung mga needed relief items, yung mga family food packs, yung mga hygiene kits, yung mga modular tents natin. So, last year, we were able to provide help in 65,000 households and 400 for the emergency shelter assistance and 402,000 households na bigyan natin ng cash forward at ang mga ating mga, of course, yung mga preposition goods natin in coordination with the local government units. Crucial that I may add, Sir Butch, yung disaster response po kasi medyo may sistema po ito. Kailangan we are working closely with the local government units. Ang local government units po, ang mga first responders po talaga under our local government code, sila yung unang re-responde sa disaster. So they do the rescue operations, the relief missions, and then it's only when they ask for assistance of the DSWD that we step in. But now we're proactive, so we enter the municipality alongside the LGU na. So sabay na kami pumapasok. We don't wait for the LGU to ask for our help before we step in the calamity area. So, yun kaya napapabilis po talaga yung ating response at nakita naman po natin yan sa mga previous experience sa ating mga bagyo, especially during Paeng, yung mga major disasters po natin, the earthquake in the north. Nakita natin how proactive the response of the DSWD was. So, basically, sir, yun yung ating accomplishments in 2022, sir.
Okay. I recall yung during the Duterte administration, ang target was to reduce poverty level from 22 to 16%. Tapos, ngayon, the Marcos administration wants to further reduce the poverty rate to just single digit, 9%. I don't know kung ano yung current level ng yung poverty rate at present. At what would it take to achieve yung 9% poverty rate by the end of the Marcos administration in 2020?
Which actually, the PSA is currently updating on ating poverty. Okay, but last we checked, or last year, the updated poverty rate of the country was at 12%. So, medyo mataas pa po on there, still far from our target na 1 digit. And I think we have to take into consideration, Sir Butch, yung impact talaga. Up to this day, we still feeling the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. So yung very crucial itong poverty alleviation programs ng government to mitigate the impact and improve the lives of our countrymen in the poverty level. But the standing order of the President is really to respond to the needs of our poor countrymen, and we have to be quick. Yun talaga yung gusto ng Presidente, quick response. Pag may kailangan ng mga kababayan natin, kailangan ibigay agad, i-deliver agad ng DSWD. Ang isa pa niyang bilin po ay kailangan, yun nga, proactive yung response natin. Kailangan tayo yung nag-reach out sa mga tao, hindi yung kailangan hanapin pa nila tayo. Kailangan puntahan pa tayo pagpukin tayo sa ating mga opisina para sila ibigyan ng tulong. Ang ginagawa po natin ngayon, even with our indigenous peoples, mga kababayan natin, sa mga nakita natin ng nakaraang taon, tayo po ay pumupunta sa mga lugar nila, sa mga cheated areas, mga geographically isolated and disadvantaged areas na aming tawagin. Sila po ay nire-reach out ng gobyerno para ilapit namin yung servisyo doon sa kanila. Hindi na nila kailangan magbiyahe pa dito. At makikita naman natin, Sir Butch, na every December, every holidays, yung mga kababayan natin sa Mapaljaw at mga IT talagang lumuluwas ng mga syudad para makalimos. Ito po yung ating tinututukan para maiwasan po yun. At may mga nakahanda po tayong programa doon. Kabilang dyan yung birth registration ng ating mga IT communities para sila yung nabigyan ng dokumento like birth certificate at national ID para sila yung magkaroon ng better access sa ating mga services at programs sa gobyerno at hindi na sila yung every December, November talagang pupunta sa Metro Manila at mamahalimos. We want the services closer to the people. That's the number one order from the President.
Just today, merong news na survey shows that half of all Filipino households consider themselves poor. Ano ang immediate na magagawa ng DSWD to reduce yung number of poor families, poor households? At ano ang relasyon nito sa efforts ng buong gobyerno? We're talking of a whole of society approach, whole of government approach. Ano yung papel ng ibang departments dito sa anti-poverty program?
Tama yung sinabi ni Sir Butch, this necessitates a whole of government approach talaga. While yung mga flagship programs po natin, anti-poverty alleviation programs, is launched within DSWD, we need a lot of help from the other agencies. So that's why sa rin bilin ng Pangulo po yan, Sir Butch, we have to collaborate with the other agencies. Every time we have disasters, we are always in close coordination, of course, with the local government units, and then yung ating NDRMC, ating OCD, kasama rin natin ng DA at DPWH po, Sir Butch, para i-address yung mga housing problems ng ating mga kababayan apektado ng lugar sa mga calamities. And when it comes to poverty, of course, we're poverty alleviation ng programs natin. We are improving, we keep on improving our system and our mechanism in delivery of services para yun nga, ang target talaga natin sa Coach kasi is to reach as many Filipinos as we can given the limited resources of course of the government. Gusto namin yung parating sa mga kababayan natin may hirap ay mas marami yung maparatingan natin ng tulong ng ating mga programa. That's why ganun nga po yung ating direction ngayon. Instead of waiting for them to ask for help for the DSWD, we go to these communities and determine what they need para we address them. And of course, in collaboration with the local governments and other agencies like the ILG, lagi po natin partner yung mga yan, the ILG. Kapag kailangan natin ng resources, we ask for supplemental resources. We go to PAGFOR, SSO, kung kulang ang pondo namin. Hindi po kami ng tulong. Kapag kailangan ng mga iba't ibang problema para talagang local government po ang ating partner talaga, Sir Coach, with respect to poverty alleviation at implementation ng ating program. That's why very crucial po, Sir Coach, ang ating relationship with the local government officials, the provincial government officials para synchronize po yung ating mga actions. Yun nga po, para isang direction po ang ating tinatahak because very crucial na sa implementation po yun, yung synchronicity ng agencies. Sir Coach.
From the Sige.
Good morning. I'm Camilo Meliendez of Media Force. I'd like to ask a question to Secretary Punay. I foresee na magiging OIC, na magiging secretary pala. Okay. Ano ba ito? Iyon mo nga yun. Wala. Malakas naman boses eh. Compared with the budget in 2022, what is now the budget in 2023 of the DSWD? And second, did you still provide for the ayuda appropriation for the 2023 year 2023? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Last year we had 194 billion total budget for the DSWD. Right now it was increased to almost 10 billion, sir. 202 billion yung allocation namin this year. So mas may konting nadagdag sa ating mga major programs para maka-implement natin ng mabuti. Although yung ating SAP, yung program natin, yung Special Social Amelioration Program during the pandemic, wala na pong budget ito even last year, yung ating ayuda. At dinadaanan na po natin yung mga ating pagtulong sa kababayan sa major programs po natin, yung ating in-explain kanina na AX program. Ito po yung stopgap program natin na pagtulong sa mga kababayan natin na nangangailangan ng medical, mga educational, mga transportation, burial, and even food assistance. Yun po ay tinasa ng funding up to 40 billion po ang pondo ngayon. Kaya malaki po ang ating, mas marami tayong matutulungan. Nakita po ng Pangulo at ng ating Kongreso na ang kahalagahan ng significance ng program na yun. That's why tinaasan po nila yung budget ng program na yun. But still, we're still foreseeing na baka magkulang kasi ang daming nangyayari po ngayon, especially sa disaster response po natin. Medyo we're expecting na due to climate change, binabanggit naman po ng Pangulo na we're expecting napakaraming mga bagyo, mga pagbabahan na mangyayari sa ating bansa at kailangan ng responde at tulong ng ating mga kababayang apektuhan. So, we're always on standby naman po. If we need additional funding, we can always ask for supplemental budget from the Congress po.
Para i-reduce sa proposal na tayo ng Department of Disaster Resilience, how would that affect yung disaster response?
Yes, Sir Butch, I think this is still pending with the Congress. It wasn't enacted yet, the proposal, but the DSWD was one of the focal agencies consulted in the drafting of that bill, precisely because we are one of the pillars of disaster response. Kami mga kasama sa mga first responders at meron kaming program actually, Sir Butch, yung emergency shelter assistance, wherein we give financial assistance dito sa mga kababayan nating nasira yung mga bahay or na-damage yung bahay. We give them financial assistance of 8,000 to 25,000 para pag-rebuild ng mga bahay nila. Ito yung binibigay natin assistance. But this was also transferred, Sir Butch, to DSWD, yung Department of Housing and Urban Development, yung bagong agency natin, and nasa transitory period tayo ngayon. We are transferring to them the program. Kaya yun po yung when it comes to stopgap natin while waiting dito sa opera po sa passage ng DER or Department of Disaster Resilience. As we see, very important no yung measure na yun to address yung needs natin. Kasi sa setup ng proposed bills, Sir Butch, very holistic. As you said a while ago, holistic government approach is what we need to address yung disaster response. Kasi from monitoring, what we've seen, paulit-ulit yung pagbaha sa mga same lugar, same locations. So we thought na parang stopgap lang tayo. Nagbibigay tayo ng ayuda, pero kung kinakailangan lang nila, paulit-ulit yung pagbibigay natin ng ayuda, pero the more long-term response should be ayusin po natin ang ating mga drainage system, ang ating flood control program sa mga local government units para hindi na paulit-ulit yung pagbaha. That's the long-term plan and that we need the DDR for.
Hello, Sec. Thanks po from DMX Online. Sec, sir, sundan ako ng parang lumag sa NCR National Office ng DSWD. Yung request ng investigation, may sabotahe, may nangyari.
Sige, I think our spokesman, Asec, also already explained yesterday, we're still investigating, hindi pa tapos yung investigation natin. But initially, ito nga po yung sinasabi natin kanina na SLP project natin, na we provide assistance for sustainable livelihood programs, yung mga parang puhunan ng ating mga kababayan na walang trabaho para sila yung makaahon sa hirap. And the design of that program is we designed it, our direction now is to use it as an exit program sa ating 40s graduate. So pag nakagraduate sila sa 40s, where we are anticipating over 600,000 graduates this year, doon naman sila lilipat sa SLP para yung puhunan nga na yun, pagtuloy nila doon sa kasi mawawalan na sila ng subsidy na monthly. So yun na yung pang self-sustain nila, yung SLP natin, where they will be given puhunan of 15,000 na panimula. And so, ayun nga, what happened in NCR is meron ongoing application. So, may mga nag-apply doon. And our NCR was able to accommodate initially earlier this month 100 applicants. And then suddenly, nagkaroon ng influx nga po. May mga ang daming dumagsa, libo-libo, 2,000 plus yung dumating the other night up to yesterday. And wala kasi ang sistema po doon na ini-schedule yung application. May assessment po kasi yan itong SLT natin. May process po ito, may assessment, may interview, may visit pa po ito sa mga bahay ng applicants. Talagang chine-check kung eligible sila. Chine-check ng ating social worker kasi kailangan siguraduhin natin yung pondo natin talagang mapupunta sa may hirap. No? So very matindi yung scrutiny natin sa proseso ng SLP natin. And so what happened there was based on initial investigation, may kumalat po na text messages dun sa bandang Quezon City na nagsasabi na may payout daw dito sa Quezon City, sa may NCR office namin. Meron din kami nakita ng mga fake Facebook accounts na nag-announce ng mga may payout nga na mangyayari. So, dinagsapo kami doon sa NCR tulad ng pagdagsa sa amin yung karaang taon kung matatandaan niyo yung educational assistance namin. So, we have a similar experience na before. Kaya, immediately we were able to handle it naman before 8-9 a.m. na clear na yung crowd. So, even if wala silang schedule that day, we gave them forms. Binigyan po namin ng forms para sa ma-file nila application nila at ma-assess din sila isa-isa kung eligible sila for the program. Pero that's just a quick response that we did kasi talagang ang proseso doon dapat po ay sa local government po, na-arrange na po natin yan. Kasi ang venue natin sa NCR po, masyadong masikip po doon sa venue na yun, sa office ng NCR. Kung maglalakan nyo yun sa Legarda office namin, hindi po kaya ng ano doon ma-accommodate dahil under construction po yung opisina doon. So nasa labas, nag-plug talaga yung mga tao. And so what we did is temporarily, we just gave them the application forms para isa-isa yung natin ma-assess. So we accommodated din naman po, but ayun nga, we appeal to everybody not to always, siguro we monitor or we just rely on official announcement of the government. No, meron po kami official Facebook page kung saan kami nag-a-announce sa mga programs at events namin. Yung Department of Social Welfare and Development na may blue check po. That's official page which has 1.3 million followers. So yun po yung mga sa balita po tayo makinig, hindi po sa mga text messages na walang basihan, walang katotohanan. Sa mga fake Facebook accounts po, na-report na rin namin sila. And so, ayun, sir, to answer your question, ongoing pa po yung investigation. And to add to that, actually, last night, the Facebook account of our NCR was hacked. So, we are coordinating with the relevant agencies na to discuss this matter. We're trying to retrieve our Facebook page of our NCR office. This is different from the central office. This is our NCR office.
Follow-up lang. Gano'n po katagal yung investigation? And humingi ba kayo ng tulong sa PNP or NBI para investigahan to? Kasi may ang app ng FB, may fake FB, tapos may mga text message pa na involved.
Our NCR office actually initiated to ask help from our NBI cybercrime office to address this matter. And as part of the investigation, we will have to await the results of the investigation to determine kung who could be behind this incident. But on our part, siguro whether or not this is deliberate, on our part in the DSWD, we took it as an opportunity to serve. Kasi ayun na, dumagsa na nga sa amin yung mga applicants ng SLP. So, this is our target. Yung lalapit sa amin yung mga tao para humingi ng tulong. So, we extended help to them. We gave them the application forms and we will assess them one by one if they're eligible. And ayun, just like the educational assistance experience we had last year, this is a wake-up call. We took it as a wake-up call that many of our Filipino countrymen still needs help. Na kailangan, ang dami pa rin mahirap natin kababayan na humingi ng tulong and we have to address their needs. So that's how we took it.
Sir, one question before we give the floor to Mr. Ramon Orosa. We can go back to OIC Punay. Later on, sir.
Good morning po. I'm Polly Martinez from the Austin. I would just like to ask OIC Punay about do you have any exact figure or estimate on how many legit for-peace beneficiaries, because you are doing cleansing, isn't it? But you were not based on your statement. Parang hindi ko narinig on how many, yung exact figure or estimate figure. Then my second question is, you mentioned may mga gumagraduate from for-peace, and what are these criteria to make these beneficiaries to graduate as SMEs? Saying you'll be giving 15,000 per house or per beneficiary. So ano yung mga criteria as graduates of for-peace? Then, do you have any mechanism on how to monitor these graduates of for-peace na hindi na sila babalik, na magiging successful yung kanilang magiging business later on? Thank you.
Thank you. As we mentioned a while ago, siguro explain natin further the process. No? So we're guided by the law kasi the for-peace law, where it's specified that 4.4 million beneficiaries natin. So out of the 4.4, meron tayong mga exit mechanisms for the beneficiaries to graduate or to leave the program. So kasama nga po dyan yung what we call natural attrition. So when the household no longer has student, yung naka-graduate na ng high school yung estudyante ng beneficiary natin, they will automatically graduate from the program. So yun yung natural attrition. And also another requirement is they will only last for the program for 7 years. So pag naka 7 years na sa program, o again, natural attrition, kailangan graduate sila. And also, that's why we have this regular assessment as provided in the law. We assess the status of these beneficiaries. Kasi kung meron doon nakaangat-angat na konti, hindi na sila poverty. That's why we monitor them regularly. Every 2 years, we have the listahan program. Binavalidate ito ng mga beneficiaries. Pag nakita po na hindi na sila mahirap, nakaangat-angat na, sabihin natin na nakakuha na siya ng trabaho, nakabili ng bahay, ng kotse, so sila po ay pinapagraduate din natin sa 40s. Automatic po yun. Strict ang monitoring po natin dito. So, as I said a while ago, meron tayong more than 100,000 na napagraduate last year. 100,000 out of the 4.4 million beneficiaries. And then, dapat nga po may mapagraduate tayo pa na 1.3 million based on listahan ng 3, but that was outdated na. Kasi 2019 po yun, hindi pa nakita yung impact ng pandemic, which was 2020 and 2021. So ngayon, we're reassessing at nung initial validation tayo last year, meron pa po doon out of the 1.3 million, may 500,000 pa po na nag-determine or natag as poor, still poor and eligible sa 40s sa ating validation. So all in all, 600 matatanggal po natin ay 1.3 minus 5 is 800,000. So 800,000 po yung expected natin na maalis siya listahan this year. So yun yung ating papalitan sa ating 40s program. Ito yung mga mapapagraduate po natin, yung 100,000 initial na mapapagraduate, sila po nga, as I said, i-accommodate natin sa SLT, sila po ibibigyan ng pupuntan. At yung SLT program po, matindi pong monitoring yan. Kung kailangan yung social worker natin, quarterly or monthly, monitor or ina-assist sila, may ganung provision po yung ating IRR doon sa SLT. Kaya we make sure, commitment lang po natin sa DSWD ay talagang we are striking a balance between two mandates of DSWD. Number one is to provide talaga yung quick assistance, yung mga kailangan ating katabayan, ba't nangingi sa amin, kailangan namin ibigyan, hindi po kami pwedeng tumanggi o yung ating mandato. But on the other hand, on our administrative side, we have to make sure that we are giving the right beneficiaries because we are bound by COA rules. Kailangan din po namin mag-meet ng standards ng COA. So, we make sure na up to the last centavo, mapupunta sa rightful beneficiary. Yung totoong may hirap yung natutulungan natin. Hindi kami na-abuse ng mga repair ng mga politician na hindi naman may hirap. Hindi po namin pwedeng bigyan yun. Yung may hirap lang po kailangan namin bigyan. At ito po ay strictly monitored ng COA. At sasabihin kami ng regular report sa kanila, especially sa 40s. Masyadong strict po ang COA dyan. Per beneficiary, chine-check nila. That's why very close monitoring kami dito.
Let's shift naman tungkol sa anong question na. Balikan na lang natin kasi
Hindi matanda mo na. Hindi sa akin ano.
Mag-i-stay pa naman si OIC Edu Punay. Balikan natin. At this point, we'd like to give the floor to Mr. Ramon Orosa, who will give us views on the current economic situation, given your agenda for the rest of the point agenda ng campus administration. And reports indicate that President Bongbong Marcos will launch a soft launch of the Maharlika Investment Fund in Davos, Switzerland this coming week. We'd like to know from Economist Ramon Orosa his views on the current economic situation and how will the visit help yung economic growth and development plan ng Marcos administration in the coming 6 years.
Thank you very much. Magandang makapo sa lahat. I'd like to make my first comment just on the idea of what ought to be the direction of the current administration. And I think that the only thing that we can say is that every administration that comes in, its greater purpose is to provide not just benefits but enable the people of that nation to be able to grow in terms of their own productivity and wealth. Lang tayo pangunahan na the object of all political activity is the betterment of the financial and economic and social conditions of the people under the people. So having said that as a general definition of the purpose of political government, the second aspect that simply has to be emphasized is that government without people's consent is not a democracy. It's any other kind of government, but it's not a democracy. If we are committed to a democracy in this nation, the consent of the government, of those who are governed, must be obtained through an honest and fair electoral process. Now, having said that, what ought to be the objective of government in any kind of nation? It means only one. Government's principal objective is first political stability, and the second is economic growth and wealth for as many of the citizens as is possible can be provided under the administration. Nothing else. Now, how do you create? The issue is how do you create wealth, and this is where the greatest debates come in, and all the programs of government. When you take a look at it from a macroeconomic standpoint, must all point to one direction: the greater welfare and benefits and wealth of the people of this nation. Wala nang iba. In a condition of political stability and fairness, where people who are in authority are made to give account of themselves to the people, and therefore that the consent of the people has to be obtained in a fair and safe electoral process. Now, having said that, how do you define then the fundamental means by which a nation can gain wealth? There is, to me, only one simple principle, and that is the principle of increasing the productivity of people. No matter what you do, if the productivity of the people does not increase, you will remain mired in poverty. Why? What does productivity mean? That this year, if I'm able to do so much, next year I'm able to do more because I have learned more. That's the only way you increase productivity. This is why our agricultural practices and results in this nation are below par. Why? Because the method of growing of agriculture remains stagnant, and the entry of improvements in methods of agriculture are not being made, and the other subsidiary things that need, like farm-to-market roads, fertilizers, irrigation, which are fundamental to any kind of agricultural activity, has not been done. Second, we have not yet developed a mapping program for the agricultural lands of this nation, so we can decide what we are going to grow and what may be more advantageous for us to import. For example, if we can buy rice at 1/2 the price of what it costs us to produce, should we continue to produce rice, or are we better off buying from another nation that can provide the rice at half the cost, so that we can then devote the land that was used to be given for rice production to some other product that is much more beneficial economically and socially to the nation? But that kind of analysis is just not being made, and what we're doing is perpetuating the kind of agricultural status that we've had for the last 300 years. it's not going to work. We will remain poor and always kang ating Tagalog sabihin natin, parati na lang tayong hikahos. And the object of government is to bring us beyond the point of being hikahos so that we have margins. In other words, and I want to bring this to the idea of the Maharlika Fund. Maharlika funds are established by nations out of their excess, not out of their need. Now, if you're going to establish a Maharlika Fund by borrowing from overseas, you're a little nuts. That doesn't work. So if you want a Maharlika Fund, let it be from the excess of the nation. Are we in a position of excess in this nation? I don't know. I would like to think so. The cost of government will go down. You can get, and there is efficiency, there is less graft and corruption. You know, the characteristics of what has been known by Gunnar, written by Gunnar Myrdal as the characteristics of a soft or underdeveloped nation. That's corruption, wasteful spending, no efficiency in government, and no integrity in government. It's that simple. But that's one of the most complicated problems that government can face. How do you make government totally efficient or honest? It's a real challenge to all political leaders. The ones who can deliver the most in those areas are going to be exalted by the people of the nation themselves. So yun po ang ating kailangan makita dito na kailangan natin tignan. But the second aspect of that is again what I was pointing out, that the government's, you have to take a look at the macro elements of that part of our industry here, agricultural and industrial. That if we cannot increase the productivity of the people who participate in those sectors, you will get nowhere. You know, if you take a look, the other nations in the world have already entered what they call the post-industrial conditions in their economy. We're still stuck to production lines with people there all over the place. In other countries, in industrialized countries, those are all robots anymore. Where are we in terms of our industrial sophistication? In terms of our AI? Oh boy, we sure have a long way to go. And we are left behind. Because even our neighboring countries of Indonesia and Malaysia and Thailand are way ahead of us, even in those areas. Now they're thinking of putting up, for example, a Tesla factory. Well, saan nila iniisip ni Elon Musk yan? Iniisip pa niya Pilipinas? Of course not. Saan niya iniisip? Indonesia. You know, Indonesia and Thailand and Malaysia are going ahead of us in all of these areas. So we're losing even our competitiveness, even among our neighbors. And it's a real challenge to government to pull us by our bootstraps and to make the giant steps that we need to take consistently over the next 6 years. There is no time for complacency. There is a time for great urgency and seriousness and such critical thinking that is effective for the nation. And that is what politicians are in power for, and that's why they're taken out of power too if they fail. And that is what we've got to look at. This nation is facing extreme challenges, especially with the advent of people like Charles Schwab of the World Economic Forum. And if I will just go ahead and begin to talk about that, that is one of the greatest challenges we face. In some of the analysis I've done of the background of the World Economic Forum and Charles Schwab, I have learned things that have led me to try to question whether the program of the World Economic Forum is a dusted-off Third Reich program. Charles Schwab's family was a hero during the time of Hitler in Germany, and the factory of his father was cited by Hitler as being the ideal Third Reich government, factory. And therefore, the question has come up. You know, the Third Reich and Hitler's government came up with its own elitist version of the world and program. Then you will see that in the attempt to try to develop the Aryan race as being the elitist race. And so the question has come up, as the program of the World Economic Forum, is it nothing more than a dusted off and deodorized Third Reich program? And this is something that is extremely important. You know what the mantra of the World Economic Forum is? You will own nothing, but you will be happy. That idiotic statement, that's the only way you can call it idiotic, is who is Charles Schwab to define what's going to make you and I happy? And I think that is something that has to be arrived at by every single individual on his own. But you cannot legislate happiness. Neither can you define it as owing nothing. As a matter of fact, it seems like a formula for great distress if you own nothing. Because what that does is it removes initial or individual initiative to try to get ahead in favor of a plan that puts the whole world and all of its people on one and the same level. And then they say, you own nothing, but you're happy. Now you try to pass that off to anybody here in the Philippines, and I think they're going to question whether your sanity has left you. But this is what they want to do to this nation. And this is why I'm concerned, because Charles Schwab has been seeking out to meet with President Bongbong Marcos. Well, I just would have to say that I hope he's smart enough to see into and behind the programs of the World Elitist Forum, which is a creation of the industrial, multi-billionaire elitist people in this world who want to govern the world according to their programs and without the consent of people. Nobody in the World Economic Forum was elected. None of them are accountable to anybody. Why should we take programs like that? And this is something that has to be, and they are deliberately working on all the heads of governments throughout this world to try to join the program of the World Economic Forum. And it's a formula for disaster. And I don't mind if they want to throw me into some kind of jail anywhere, I'll still up to the same opinion. It doesn't matter to me. And I'm also a little too old. That's why I don't care. Hindi na ako pwedeng takutin na paparilin ako. I'm ready to face the good Lord any day of the year. Hindi na problema yun.
Thank you. Can you answer the question?
Yes,
Sir, how about the direction?
Ramo.
How about the direction of administration regarding the priority when it comes to economic growth? Example, the relationship between the Philippines and the China. And compare the former administration that they are focusing in China, but now there's something wrong. What is your observation, sir, regarding the priority when it comes to foreign relationship?
Okay, with respect to China, let's specify that first in the beginning. There are two elements here that we have to consider. One is the political, and one is the pragmatic. Okay? Now, in terms of the political, I don't think our administration wants to set up and say, okay, China, you're our enemy. So even if they are, politically, in terms of media and everything else, you always say, no, we're friends. Okay? It's the under the surface maneuvering that is so very important to consider. Although the current administration has made a great attempt to try to picture China as still a friendly nation to the Philippines, the reality of it is we all know that as far as I'm concerned, the depredations of China into our exclusive economic zones is criminal in nature. And I will not mince any words about saying that that is like stealing from us. And I remember the words of our previous Secretary of Foreign Affairs regarding China. And though he was a little bit, I think, went a little too far in describing China, but fundamentally the reality is there. Justify what he said. That is what you and I experience. Kasi sa mga shows natin, pinaalis tayo ng mga inchik ng mga Coast Guard ng China. Why should we accept that? Why should we even, as far as I'm concerned, So why should we even
Are you
go
saying
into a
that-
joint venture exploration program with China?
So are you saying that they are not sincere when it comes to relationship between China and the Philippines?
Well, since when did any nation become all that sincere? No, there's a certain amount in international diplomacy where you use certain words, but the reality of it that is experienced is something else. They will never publicly state that. But I have no question that in any kind of negotiations with China, if you think China is going to give its way and not be on top of the situation when you negotiate, you've got another guest coming. Be realistic. So all we can do is hope that we can keep them at bay. And that is, I don't know if you ever recall an old movie, but those of you who are too young probably will not remember it, called The Mouse That Rolled. It's the story of a small kingdom fighting a big kingdom, and how they managed to keep the big kingdom at bay by roaring enough and at the right times and moments to keep the nation at bay. And that is something that I think we are forced to adapt as we are a small nation and we do not have the resources. Like for example, the challenge is, if China violates our economic zone, free economic zone, should we not drive out all of those fishing boats? Take a look at what Indonesia has done. They have blown up the Chinese fishing boats. And here we're doing nothing. In our own territory, we are the ones that are being sent away. And nobody wants to take. What did China do when Indonesia blew up the Chinese vessel, the fishing vessel? Nothing. What can China do? Unless they want to invade Indonesia. And we are here, but maybe because we are a lot closer to China, maybe they feel it's a little bit better. But I think we have enough resources here and mutual treaty agreements that will keep us relatively safe from any direct attack from China. But what we fear in this nation is not the direct attack, but the indirect economic attacks, like they have stolen soil from us to build their islands. They have done so many things. They have taken away mountains here just to get the soil. And, dito walang kumikibo, walang sabi, hindi na-report sa media halos yan.
So right speaking here is integrity or reputation of the Philippines against China, or reputation of our integrity.
Well, they already passed there. The Philippines is only a province of China. And, did we ever hear anything said here by our government to protest that kind of declaration?
What do you think of the latest report that both sides are willing to enter into a joint exploration of oil and gas in the South China Sea?
Well, the Supreme Court already came out with that to say it's unconstitutional. But I would not want to let China as a partner in exploration in our own territory. Okay? Let's get other partners. There are other people in the world that will come with us in a joint exploration within our free economic zone. But I don't think we would want China there.
Sure, speaking of exploration, what do you think about the exploration? 50-50 or 60-50? Itatay nyo dito sa China?
I would not, that's what I was pointing out, I would not go into a joint exploration with China. You want to know why? I cannot control that because if there is a joint exploration, we don't have the means to keep them in check. China will be doing that virtually all by herself. And you cannot control the output. Paano naman 50-50 na kayo, pero malay mo, dapat binigay sa iyo yung 50% mo. If they under-declare the production of the well, what can you do? Are we be willing to come against them and shut down that well, if that is the case, and take it in? Because that well is ours. And that oil is ours.
So are you saying it affects our economy?
Of course it will affect our economy, because for us to become self-sufficient in oil, we will save about 150,000 barrels of oil a day, which is used for our vehicles, our trucks, and our factories. Absolutely. If we discover oil in the Philippines, that would be a great boom to our economy, but of course, if we use it wisely. If we were just fritter it away in useless spending, then we're still in the same place.
Okay, we'd like to shift gears at this point. We'd like to welcome Assistant Secretary Kristine Evangelista to give us an update on the price situation insofar as agricultural goods are concerned, specifically yung onions, ano? Tapos yung impending crisis din yata sa eggs. Ano yung masasabi niyo dito?
Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. Sorry po, late ako. Galing po ako sa Kadiwa, sa PSG survey. With regards po dun sa onion, we are closely monitoring the farm gate price. Kasi nakita po natin in December, tumaas po ang farm gate price. With the reports that we gathered from our regional office, pati po sa mga institutional buyers, they said merong umabot ng 450, 460. So yun po ang naging situation sa bukid. Now, we are receiving reports that it went down to 250 pesos per kilo already. But this is something that we have to validate because it might just be in one area. But so far, from the reports I am receiving from the farmers themselves and even some institutional buyers, there has been already a decline pagdating po sa farm gate price. With that, we are also monitoring the retail price. We've seen that in December, it went up as high as 720 per kilo. But now, based on our daily monitoring of 13 markets here in Metro Manila, the prices are around 400, although every now and then we still see mga 550, no? So mataas pa rin po yan, considering the cost structure of the onions. This is the production cost, because we also talk to our farmers to find out how much it costs to produce onions. Aside from that, HBC, which is the high value crop in the Department of Agriculture, also has a computation. So this is our guide every time we discuss price points, whether it is the farm gate price or the retail price. Kasi syempre with the retail price, we have to consider the cost of the viajero and the cost of the retailers or the retailers. So as far as the onions are concerned, we are looking at the prices that it's supposed to go down already. One, of course, is also that there are more harvests this coming second week of January, as promised by our stakeholders during the stakeholders meeting, as compared to December. We have not reached the peak of the harvest because looking at the data we have, it's really March, wherein we have a lot of onions at ito rin po yung mga sibuyas na nilalagay sa mga cold storage dito po para ma-extend yung shelf life. So basically, sir, that's what we're doing right now. And we are still continuing trying to link our farmers with even retailers and the mga palengke para mas mura po yung kuha ng palengke, mas mura din po ang benta.
Depende sa size. Depende sa size.
What yung presyo ng itlog? Mukhang malaking issue nito kasi dami gumagamit ng eggs, di ba?
Opo, yung sa itlog po, una pong tinignan namin is yung supply situation kasi meron pong mga areas na tinamaan po ng bird flu, so that would definitely affect the supply situation. But also, we are looking into the several layers, no? Kasi nagsasabi rin naman po yung ating mga egg producers magkano yung kuha sa kanila ng itlog, and then we compare it with that of the retail price. So we are coordinating with Egg Board also to see the supply situation and if there are bottlenecks. Right now, what we are doing also is to eliminate certain layers of traders because that will also help bring down the price. Hopefully, mas maganda ang production also of the eggs. There are some challenges that our egg producers are faced with that is now being addressed by our Bureau of Animal Industries.
Ito yung staple food ng mga Pinoy, bigas. Ano yung update dito? Yung, di ba, nangako yung presidente na ibababa sa 20 pesos? Is that at all possible given the situation that we have?
We are working on several means to be able to bring down the cost of production. Kasi sa umpisa pa lang po, syempre yung palay kailangan mababa. At the same time po, yung post-harvest, because the accessibility of post-harvest facilities is also very important to be able to bring down the cost of gas. Hindi lamang po dyan natatapos yun. Ang improvement of irrigation is also very important. So when we say we are working on bringing down the price of gas, all boils down to the improvement of the production area. Not only the yield, but efficiency as far as production is concerned. Dahil po, pag mas maganda ang yield at mas cost efficient po ang pagtatanim ng ating mga magsasaka, including yung kanilang post-harvest facilities, then we are able to help bring down the prices. So that is something we are working on, sir, sa Department of Agriculture. The lead of which is definitely our rice program. But FILMEC, because of the mechanization, is also very important, including the role of MIA, which is the irrigation side.
Pwede ba pagtanong tungkol sa bigas? Tatanong lang ako sa inyo. Have you ever considered putting up grain silos in which to store the rice instead of putting it in bodegas that's subject to rats and all kinds of infestation?
That is one of the things that the rice program is looking into, coming up with a processing plant wherein it's complete with all the facilities. So it's not only that of the recirculating dryer or rice mill, but the silos, because I'm sure that the rice program looked into that even before, but the viability, and I will just look into how many of those will happen in 2020.
Sure.
They've been talking about this. I'm a little older than you, that's why we've been talking about this for generations, and nothing has been done by government. Period.
I think that exactly the reason why we saw the increase of prices, and at one point we've seen that it is not viable anymore to compete with imported commodities. But now that we are focused on making our local produce competitive with imported, and that would definitely mean we have to put all this infrastructure in place, accessibility to our farmers, which are the stakeholders. And most likely, we are also looking into our partnership with the local government unit, because it's not just putting up the facility, but being able to maintain it. And part of that is sustainability. So the side, sir, the one you mentioned, I will ask again the rice program, and I will nod them in your behalf.
How would you assess yung impact ng rice tarification law? Has it benefited our farmers or made them poorer?
Well, the rice tarification law includes that of there's a portion of which wherein our farmers were able to get RFFA. But of course, it doesn't end there. The mechanization, the access to credit, that's also part of the rice tarification law. So I think that is something that we have to strengthen in order to help capacitate our farmers become competitive, considering the stipulated in article. So the part of access to credit, the part of trainings, because we have to teach them also to come up to shift towards a different way of planting, and the ayuda, which is the RFFA, is something that should help them also get by. But not only that, it's really making them competitive. So I think the other part of the RTL, which is the RCEF, is something we have to strengthen as far as implementation is concerned, of which the FILMEC, the giving of machines, is also very important, because when we give the machines, it has to be appropriate to the type of hectare, the number of hectare being used by our farmers, and also their capability to use it and maintain it as well.
Questions from the reporter?
Ito na lang.
Nag-identify lang muna, then take off your
Bernadette Reyes, WMA News. Sabi po ng UBRA sa isang kanyang sa DSWD na ang isa daw po sa hiling nila sa amin is to lower the cost of feeds. Because ang mahal daw po magpakain ng kaililing ano. Eh, ano po ba ang status po ng bird flu ngayon sa
Ma'am Adele, as far as the status of the bird flu, I will have to get in touch with our livestock group to have more accurate data regarding that. But definitely po kasi, yung pagtaas po ng presyo ng agricultural inputs, yan po ay isa sa mga rason kung bakit tumaas din po yung cost of production. So, yung po tinitingnan ng iba't ibang mga programa, whether it's corn, rice, or the livestock group in particular, including the high value. Dahil if we are able to help our farmers have access to cheaper agricultural commodities, then their cost of production will become lower. And that will also help them become more competitive as far as price points is concerned. So yung isa po yun sa mga tinitingnan as far as production is concerned, but definitely that will create an impact pagdating po din sa ating mga retail prices.
How would you consider subsidy po sa mga
Well, we have been giving mga binhi. We've been giving fertilizers. So maybe I do not see any reason why we shouldn't explore looking into putting subsidy on feeds, considering this is also an agricultural input. And we can discuss it with the livestock group. Maybe they're already having talks regarding this. I will find out, ma'am. But in the same manner that we've given, again, we've given seeds, we've given fertilizers, we gave tractors and other machineries, then helping the livestock sector with their challenges as far as agricultural inputs is concerned is something that definitely has to be looked into.
Hello. Hi, Asec, Ed po from Quezon. Since nag-expire na po yung MOA with FTI, magkano po yung naging process natin? Kasi subsidize yung pagbenta natin ng onion at 170. Tapos for the next cycle, subsidize pa rin po ba? Tapos yung gano'n yung value. And last na po, go ahead sa start yung next cycle ng onion sa atin.
Yung start po ng next cycle sa Kadiwa will be dependent on the supplemental MOA that we have to work on together with the FTI because sila po yung nag-procure. So, yan po ay ating tinitingnan ngayon. We know for a fact that there is an investigation by the Ombudsman. So, those are things that have to be considered as well. And also including the other reports from the FTI such as the liquidation report, inventory report. And when we get hold of that, only then can we decide our ways forward and how we can. The objective always is to find a means to be able to give our consumers accessibility to agricultural commodities. That will always be the directions. But as far as the MOA with FTI is concerned, we are discussing this with them together with our legal team.
Yung naging budget natin, subsidize onion sa atin.
The budget is at 140 million pesos. So the liquidation report from the FBI will be important to see how much of the funds were used and fund management as well. We also asked for the list of farmers wherein they got the onions and also the sales inventory, remaining stocks, and the dispatch.
Ang last na sa atin, mag-mataas ng presyo. Nakikita ko ba natin natatagal trend na mataas ng presyo ng dito?
Para po ma-determine natin kung ang presyo ng itlog ay tuloy-tuloy na tataas, we have to look into again the cost of production if that is the root cost. Because if it's the layers of triggers that is causing the price hike pagdating po sa itlog, what we are doing now is we are linking cooperatives, not only sa Kadiwa po sila nagbibenta, but there are some wet markets also na kumukuha na po sila sa ating mga cooperatives. So we will continue doing that while the production team naman po, ang ating operations and ang ating livestock group will handle that the production aspect.
Can I ask you a question, ma'am? Well, consider that allow the collectivization of rice lands particularly considering that our yields in this country are still way, way below what we experience in Thailand, in Malaysia, in India, in Pakistan, and everywhere else in the world, so that the economies of scale can be achieved. Because if you're just going to rely on land reform that you don't even give credit, you don't give this, you don't give that, kulang-kulang, that's why it has never worked. But if you only have 2 to 3 hectares to till, you are going to be a very inefficient farm. And that's part of the problem. That's why they always remain poor. And after land reform, they need land anyway. But I think you need legislation to enable the collectivization so that the production can become much more efficient.
Microphone.
Excuse me, answer that. Someone said it's from Jordan.
Programs that have to be institutionalized and the other bottlenecks that we are seeing is something that we'd also like to work with our the legislative body to see how we can come up with a long-term solution. So legislation on that, sir, is actually something being studied, and I hope it will be pursued.
Good morning, ma'am. I'm Cory Martinez from Boston. This question is about an observer, as a reporter, and I'm sure. Kasi since the assumption of the Marcos administration, it seems may mga series na mga pagtaas ng prices ng mga basic commodities. Okay, so since nag-start sa rice, sa sugar, sa prices ng baboy, then ito yung meron pa kasi, meron pa onion, and now iklo. Would you think is there a pattern na somehow a group or any stakeholders who want to sabotage or always speculating magkakaroon ng high prices? Although there are some reasons behind kung bakit tumatas yung mga basic commodities. But based on my observation, not only as a reporter, pati consumer kasi consumer din ako. So, bakit hindi natatapos? Itong onion, bababa siya. Okay? But now we have to meron na biglow na naman tataas. It is also a basic commodity. And you mentioned na possible yung cost reduction, and you mentioned birth. When I'm covering DA for how many years, I think that was 2 years ago pa na talagang apektuhan ng matindi yung coffee industry. Pero ngayon, parang wala na masyadong cases na birth. So, would you see any pattern of possible speculations from other sectors with regards to the situation of basic commodities?
Thank you very much, ma'am. And what you've observed is something that reached our office. And actually, yeah, I feel you. I feel you. Well, we have a field inspectorate assistant secretary who is also into the investigation of whatever it is that's happening on the grounds. And that includes those who are part of the value chain to see if there are certain bottlenecks. So that I would have to leave to our field inspectorate assistant secretary, who is also with Intel. So those are things that he is looking into as well. But while we are faced with all these challenges, we are focused on trying to find solutions. Some of the challenges, I believe, have been there, but maybe this is the best time to find solutions together with legislation. So, yes, I understand where you're coming from, and that is also, I think, a different group is looking into. Senator Villar, for that matter, mentioned that. There are quite levels, and I believe that a group in the Department of Agriculture and other government agencies also are helping out to see that angle that you feel and most of the public has observed.
Do you think it's time for the Department
OIC pa rin? OIC cabinet.
We have Undersecretary, Senior Undersecretary
Panganiban.
Domingo Pangaliban,
Yes.
who is in constant communication with our secretary as well. So with regards to the implementation and the recommendations of different units in the DA to be able to address issues and also come up with programs to proactively service our stakeholders is being done. So the presence of Senior Undersecretary Yusek Panganiban was also very important as far as the department is concerned, with his close relations with our secretary, so that we know that our implementations and the programs that we have been proposing can be implemented well with proper safety nets.
More questions?
Yes.
Sige.
Magandang umaga po sa inyo lahat. Asec Evangelista. At ganyan kay Yusek Punay. Sir, pero kay Asec muna ako. Kasi siya pinakamaganda sa inyo. Asec, balikan ko lang po yung sibuyas. Nabanggit niyo po kanina, may paparating na sibuyas. Ito ba yung export natin? Yung mga sibuyas, in-import natin na sibuyas. And then yung sinasabi niyo rin po na masasabay ito sa harvest this week ng mga sibuyas mula sa mga probinsya. Kailan po yung dating ng in-import po natin sibuyas? At ito namang paparating na galing sa magsasaka. Ano pong magiging presyo niyo po niyan? At sinabi niyo, bababa. Meron din 170 ang kilo ng sibuyas galing sa Kadiwa, pero ang liit po kasi laki ng itlog ng pugo ay malambot pa, kaya namimili. So, gano'n tayo pasigurado na talagang bababa na ang presyo sa 170? Fix na natin sa 170. Ang hirap po ng walang halong sibuyas pag kumakain ka, pag nagluluto ng ulam. Gano'n po tayo pasigurado dyan na hindi maaabuso yung bentahan na yan. Kasi by size po yan eh. Alam naman din po niya, di ba? Depende dun sa size. Kasi yung size na mas malaki, mga ganito kalaki, mas mahal. Yung small size, mas mura. Yung mas small pa, 170, wala ka na makain.
Sir, yung sa 170 po sa Kadiwa, although meron pong mga maliliit din, meron pong mga ganyang kalalaki. Pero admittedly, sir, hindi po ito kasing laki ng mga imported na mga sibuyas na kaganda na kalaki. Pero meron na pong ganyan. Yung sibuyas po natin, ang isa rin po sa rason kung bakit maliliit, no? Kasi yung harvest po, meron po kaming nakita na binunot na, minadali na nila. Kaya hindi pa po kasing laki ng dapat. So ito po ay sigurong pamamaraan para magkaroon tayo ng sibuyas at the time na masyado na mataas ang sibuyas. At kahit po yung sibuyas na nakikita po namin sa palengke, hindi po in local onions, hindi po kasing ganda nung dati. Dahil hinahamon ng mapo. Just to let you know, sir, no, ang naging situation sa bukid ay meron na pong nakongontrata sa ating mga magsasaka. Isang hektarya, babayaran kita ng ganitong halaga. So, while we are trying to have a supply outlook based on the projected harvest of our stakeholders, I think it's also very important, and this we've seen, to know where the produce goes, sino ang bumili sa ating magsasaka, saan dinala, at para maintindihan po natin bakit gano'n ang presyo. Yun din po ang paraan para magkaroon tayo ng tamang supply situation pagdating po sa datos. So pagdating naman po doon sa minimension nyo tungkol sa importation, yung harvest po, yung na ina-expect natin sa ating magsasaka, yan po ay taken into consideration by both the Bureau of Plant Industry and the High Value Crop, which is the agency, it's a bureau, and our unit in charge of that certain commodity. So a calibrated importation was something they had to look into. As of now, we are waiting for reports kung ilan po ang nag-apply. And at the same time, I don't know if you've noticed, meron pong cut-off yung ating importation, unlike before. So these are the certain parameters that the Bureau of Plant Industry put in place to be able to safeguard also yung harvest po ng ating mga magsasaka.
Kasi last question lang po. nabanggit nyo kanina yung makasama natin yung taas ng presyo ng itlog. Minomonitor nyo din ba yung itlog ng pugo, baka tumaas din ang presyo? Salamat po.
Sir, honestly, ang itlog ng pugo po, hindi po namin minomonitor ang presyo. Kasi sa ating monitoring po, pero we can also look into that. That's very valid. Sa ating monitoring po, every day sa mga palengke, yung medium po ang ating tinatake into consideration. Kasi base din po sa data, yan ang kadalasan hinahanap ng ating mga consumers. Pero sa pakikipag-ugnayan din po sa ating mga stakeholders, tinitingnan po natin yung size ng itlog. Kasi nakikita din po natin na minsan, pero kung pagkakataon, mga nagbebenta po sa retail, sasabihin nila, large ito ang presyo, pero hindi naman pala. So that's something also we are looking into. Kasi nag-iiba po ang presyo ng itlog base po doon sa small, medium, large, at jumbo size.
Thank you, ma'am.
May tanong ka sa DSWD. Oh, sige. Last two questions na lang. Bon, tubig lang, tubig. Sige, sino yung tatanong na una? Sige.
Patrick, Asec from PBBM. Yun po meron pong ilang mga magsasaka po nag-work about po dahil sa ng oversupply dahil yung kanilang harvest di baka masabay doon sa imported. So, ano po yung preparations kayo ng DA in terms of sa cold storage facilities?
Hindi lang po dun sa cold storage facility, no, kami naghahanda para dyan. Pati po dun sa ating market linkage, meron po kaming mga ina-identify na mga institutional buyers. As ito po ay hinihikayat namin na patuloy bumili nung lokal na sibuyas. Dahil nga po alam natin na this will, the imported will compete with the local, no? So, trying to find ways to secure yung merkado po para sa ating local is something the market linkage team naman natin ang in charge na. Pagdating po sa cold storage facility, I believe that since the Bureau of Plant Industry has a list of accredited cold storage facilities, then there is a way to monitor kung sino po naglalagay sa cold storage. In the past, this is one of the challenges that BPI was faced with when they were looking for the inventory. So, yung paggamit po ng ating magsasaka ng cold storage is important. Plus, of course, additional cold storage facilities. Yan po ay kasama sa budget po ng Department of Agriculture. I will just have to check kung gaano karami po ang ibinasok dyan. But this is meant to be strategically located kung nasan po yung production area. So, pagdating po sa sibuyas, ang ating po pinag-uusapan ay of course ang number one producer ay Nueva Ecija. Nandiyan din po ang Mindoro. Nandiyan ang Tarlac, Pangasinan, at syempre po sa Ilocos meron din. So yung mga cold storage facilities for these areas are being part of the measures that the department is taking.
Ma'am, yung unang shipment po ng imported goods, kailan po yung dating? Maglalagay po ngayon sa case agreement price?
Yan po, we are still discussing ano yung sinabi nito po dun sa SRP dun sa imported. But yung pagdating po, I will have to ask the Bureau of Plant Industry kung una ilan po ang nag-apply and based dun sa ilan ang nabigyan ng permit, makikita po kung kailan ang expected na dating. Pero makikita po natin na up to January 27 lang po na meron tayong cut-off sa pagdating ng mga sibuyas.
Nabanggit niyo po 140 M yung budget din sa kadiwa o ay binibenta. Ilan po yung volume na yung binili ng gobyerno para bagsak sa kanila?
Sa ngayon po, I will have to wait for the report of the FTI kasi sila nga po ang nag-procure ng sibuyas. Siyempre, titignan po natin dyan yung farm gate price ng sibuyas, magkano nila nabili, at yung kanilang inventory. So, I think at this point, it will be prudent to wait for the report of the full terminal.
Tapos, ito po ba yung kasama sa investigahan?
Okay, we'll have to stop the questions. Pwede naman kayo mag one-on-one afterwards. Please give a chance to anong outfit? Anong Dario?
One last question.
Good morning, Asec. Kari po, CNN Philippines. Hindi lang po ako ng soundbite dun sa FTI pa rin yung nasabi nyo rin na possible na palitan yung FTI if ever, or hindi na ituloy talaga yung 170 sa kadiwa.
Gusto po natin ituloy ang pagkakaroon ng murang sibuyas sa kadiwa. That is part of our commitment, and that is the kadiwa program in itself. Ang programa po food mobilization looks into how we can provide accessibility na po. So there are other means that we are exploring. Although if you look at it kasi ma'am, FTI's mandate includes that of buying and selling agricultural commodities. And in the past, during the time of President Marcos Sr., Kadiwa was really an FTI program. It was implemented. So it would be nice to move back to that wherein the produce are being procured and sold at practically farm gate price. No? So that is something that we are exploring and also looking into the capability of our partners and what other means to improve, because we also want to continue. Sabi nga po namin, kaya kami po ay tumitingin sa supplemental MOA kasi gusto po natin ipagpatuloy ang pagkakaroon ng 170 na sibuyas. No? So isa po yan sa ating mga ginagawa. Sorry for not answering your call, ma'am. Ano mo rin ako.
Pero ano po yung consider din natin kukuha ng ibang patuloy for the second cycle?
Kino-consider natin, for the second cycle, ito nga po yung kailangan namin pag-usapan with the FTI. Because the second cycle is actually the proceeds of the sales. Yun po ay gagamitin pang-bili muli ng sibuyas. So, kumbaga, nakikita natin bumababa ang farm gate price. So, si FTI din po, dapat na monitor na yan. No? So, kung binili niya itong halaga at one point, pagdating po sa buwan na ito, ay bumaba na. So, mag-iiba din po yung cost structure ng FTI. But definitely, the intention was really to have funds for FTI to continue procuring as a trading capital. Kasi ito po ang nakikita natin tulong na maibibigay natin sa ating mga consumers as well.
So, that's another from Philippine Star.
Kamusta yung government response sa yung mga nabiktima ng baha sa Visayas and Mindanao? And pahabol ko na rin yung second question. May nakikita ba tayong parang concerted effort dun sa nangyayari ngayon sa DSWD? Kasi the first time yung sa inflation assistance, tapos ngayon meron naman sa nangyayari sa NCR. Yun nga, napanggit yun na may mga lumalabas nga ng mga fake postings.
Thank you, Sir Harry. Dun sa disaster response po natin, yun nga, sinabi natin kanina, pinisipan ni Binoy na Pangulo yung Misamis Oriental at Misamis Occidental. Talagang extraordinary times po ito, kumbaga climate change is real. No? Tatlong convergence ng weather systems na nangyayari po doon ngayon sa same area, sa Eastern Visayas at Northern Mindanao, mula sa shear line mula nung Pasko, bigla na ng northeast monsoon at sumabay pa yung mga low pressure area. So talagang tuloy-tuloy yung pagbaha doon. May natala po tayo na 1.8 million na individuals apektado po no, dito sa regions 8, 9 at 10. More than 3 weeks na po silang binabaha doon, balik-balik pagbabaha. So sa unang Pangulo talagang nag-aaral tayo nagbigay ng assistance. So far, naka-distribute na po ang DSWD ng 88 million in total assistance po dito kaya food, non-food, at mga cash, emergency cash assistance natin ibigay sa ating mga affected communities doon. So far, at this point po, meron 378 na evacuation centers still existing in those regions with 102,500 individuals there. So, and we're happy to report naman na somehow ganito ka-challenging, meron pa po tayo 1.2 billion in available stockpiles and quick response fund natin ang responded. Now to your second question, siguro hindi lang natin sinabi natin na this is under investigation. Actually, just this morning, our NCR regional office sought the help of the cybersecurity group of the ICT to address yung hacking incidents sa kanilang Facebook account and also yung mga fake announcement via text and Facebook accounts. But with regard to the different angles, possible angles, we needed to the investigator for the appropriate authorities to make such pronouncement. Basta kami sa DSWD, and for yung perspective natin dito, kapag dinudumog tayo ng tao, this is for us an opportunity to serve our people. We will accommodate everybody for as long as they're in front of our offices. Thank you so much.
Okay, OIC, ikaw. DSW.
We'd like to ask our three guests to give their closing remarks. And maybe you can please make yourself available for one-on-one interviews. Sige, usahan natin kayo ng alis yan.
So again, the DSWD, sabi ko sa DSWD 2022 was a banner year. Ang dami namin na-serve millions of Filipinos na kailangan. Ang dami kaming reforms na implement under the new administration of President PBBM, because his directive is really for the government to reach out to as many as we can na nangangailangan talagang dodonghin natin ang ating mga beneficiaries, ang numero natin mga beneficiaries para expand yung reach ng ating mga social services programs at makakaasa po kayo na tuloy-tuloy yung mga reforma natin i-implement sa DSWD at yun nga, ang commitment ng administration na ito ay mas marami kaming tutulungan isiguraduhin natin na lahat ng mga kailangan as much as possible ma-address natin.
Okay, parting shots from Asec.
Thank you.
Closing statement.
I think that what faces the government today is what to do on the international stage from an economic standpoint. Are we going to fall for the program of the billionaire elitists in the world to try to develop a one-world government subject to the compulsory World Economic Forum Charles Schwab? Or shall we plot our own course? I've already given you a background on what I think is so unfortunate about and the reality behind the World Economic Forum and the program of Charles Schwab trying to, take all the other heads of government to join them. But the one world government, I think, we have to make our own stand as a small nation to say, thank you, but no thanks. And pursue our own path and do whatever we can. But of course, there is another crime for us to be a lot more efficient and effective in our macro and micro policies, not just with agriculture, but also with industry and other aspects of the economy. And we have nothing to prove to anybody except to ourselves. And that we extract for that and say, we have put ourselves because we have done what was possible and been able to have a degree of success in governing this nation and making it grow a little bit richer. Thank you.
Thank you. Asec, parting shot.
First of all, thank you very much for inviting me here in this meeting forum. There are some friends I've seen, new friends I've made that will help us disseminate information. And as far as the Department of Agriculture is concerned, our direction has been clear, which is increased production. That will also mean bringing down the cost of production. The other side of it is making agricultural commodities accessible and affordable to consumers. So with that, on the side of the consumer affairs, we will always be focusing on trying to minimize the layers of traders that caused the prices of agricultural commodities to be exorbitantly high. So by minimizing layers of traders will also mean capacitating our cooperatives to take on their roles. But definitely this is a direction that we will continue to take. We will minimize middlemen in the transactions to be able to be fair to our primary stakeholders, which are the producers, and also protect consumers as well. So thank you very much, sir.
Okay, on that note, we'd like to conclude this Saturday edition of regular this forum. We'd like to thank Asec and OIC Edu Punay, Mr. Ramon Orosa, and Asec, Kristine Evangelista, the Department of Agriculture. Siguro, if you want to approach him, dito na lang.
Thank you.